Hi everyone, welcome to a video for day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival 2014. Day 2 is obviously Champion Chase Day, so we're going to start with race 1, which is the Neptune Investment Novices Hurdle. This is a really good race this year. It's always been a good race and one of the favourites of mine to watch, but this year, God, it's really tough this year. I'm going to start this race with Red Sherlock for David Pipe. Reason is he won the Neptune Trial back in January, a cracking race with Rathvinden all the way up the hill with Red Sherlock just seeing the trip out slightly better for me. The big thing to take from there is Red Sherlock and Rathvinden were miles clear of the rest, and I think both took to the course really well. Both lost, well, Rathvinden lost nothing in defeat, and that is a really solid piece of form. I know David Piper really likes Red Sherlock, and he also really likes King's Palace as well, which was kind of earmarked for this, but he's going elsewhere now because he's happy with Red Sherlock apparently, and I think that speaks volumes that he's willing to not even go double-handed in this. He thinks Red Sherlock can do the job, and I think he's got a really good chance. Rathvinden was doing great in Ireland, was travelling into the race really well at Warwick the time before when he fell. But obviously when he came second to Red Sherlock, showed nothing for that there. And as I said, the two pulled miles clear. My slight feeling was Red Sherlock got up the hill better than Rathvinden. And that is making me slightly lean more towards him than Rathvinden at this time. Interesting one here for Willie Mullins. Briar Hill is still in. Obviously won the champion bumper last year, and even by Willie Mullins' own admission, they don't know what he's achieved over hurdles. He's been running in pretty much nothing company. He's been beating average, decent horses, don't get me wrong, doing it not very spectacularly, but getting the job done. He could be anything. My thought is here, and I could be totally wrong because literally we don't know, he's probably not, I don't know, I just think there's others with more scope than in this field. I think he'll run well, don't get me wrong, because Willie Mullins obviously really rates him, and you don't win a champion bumper if you're nothing really. And I think he'll run well, but I think he's going to come slightly short here. The interesting one here is the favourite, which is Falgeen or Falgeen, I don't know how to pronounce it. He's unbeaten, but for me, he was running a decent race. He won a decent race back in December, and it was a group race, and that's when he shot to the head of the market. But I've been looking at this. Look at the horse that came second and third. They've both been beaten out of sight in the next two runs. One of them even came last. So the question mark there is, and when he stepped up to group level, what's he actually beaten? The answer is nothing, because the form's been let down. Then again, the horse can only beat what's in front of him. I'm not saying he's not going to run a cracking race. But for me, when you look at what's in this field, 5-2 is very short price around that horse. And, you know, I think he's got every chance, but I wouldn't be taking 5-2 with some really good opposition here. Royal Boy for Nicky Henderson's quite interesting, but the one thing I don't like about this, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, this was plan B. He was going chasing this season. He ran first time out and ran absolutely appallingly. It's got to be said, first time out. Over fences, and then he went back to hurdles where he's done okay, but I think that's just it. He's done okay. It hasn't been spectacular, if you ask me. So no, I can't be having Royal Boy at 6-1. If he was double figures, he might interest me, but not at the moment. As I said, those towards the head of the market are generally the way to look in this race over the years, and I think this is no different really. But if I'm going from a 1, 2, 3, I think I'm going to go for Red Sherlock over Rathvinden, and you know what, I'm going to go with Briar Hill over Falgeen. I can't imagine taking 5-2 on that horse at the moment. Next up is the RSA Chase. Now this is very interesting because it's been dominated, the anti-postmark has been dominated by Ballycasey of Willie Mullins again, all winter long. However, for those who don't know, this horse has had a schooling fall a couple of days ago. Apparently he got up straight afterwards and they pinged him over another fence and he was fine. But once again, it's not an ideal preparation being on the deck. Now, interestingly enough, Supreme Ruler, I think the horse was called, about 10 years ago, did exactly the same thing and won at a big price. He then went to Aintree the next time and fell. So, you know, you can get away with it, but generally, you don't want that really. The other thing that I do have a worry about with Ballycasey is have a look at his form in the last two springs. He seems to do well in the winter, and by the spring, I don't know if he goes off the boil or if it's he's better on worse ground. He's got half decent form in spring, but not RSA winning chase form. So at 9-2, 4-1, I'm happy to take Ballycasey on. The horse I'm going to be taking him on with here is Smart Place for Alan King. He's been placed in 2 world hurdles behind Big Bucks, which is arguably one of the greatest horses of all time in the hurdling division anyway. So that says two things. One, he's a very, very classy horse. Two, he goes on the good ground you usually get that time of year. And three, he stays, which I think is very important. He unseated on his first start over fences when miles clear. Those things can happen. Could happen again next Wednesday. But the two things I've got to line through here is, in his last two runs, first up, he beat Sam Winner, who I think is going to go very close in this. We're going to go on to Sam Winner in a minute. And I know Paul Nicholls thinks a lot of this horse. And secondly, he absolutely hammered Ardkilly Witness. Now, Ardkilly Witness has run two really good races, one in the Racing Plus Chase finish and just out the places because he's an out-and-out stayer, basically. And the time before that, he run a really, really good race, just outstayed at Sandown. So that form is as good as it goes for me. And at 7 to 1, I'll be having Smad Place. I think that's a really good horse, and you can do it each way. Also at 7 to 1 is Morning Assembly, who interestingly enough beat the likely favourite Barry Casey over hurdles. He was beaten by Carlingford Lock last time. My worry is for Morning Assembly. I think he needs soft ground. All of his form's on soft ground. Now tying into that form with Carlingford Lock, who's also 7-8 to 1. He's another one. He's been on the go for a long time, but I think he's got a bit more scope than Morning Assembly. He's going to most likely have McCoy up as well, and I think Carlingford Lock, who's a clear stayer, he's going to run a big race too. Now, moving on to what I said before, Sam Winner. Look at this horse's races at Cheltenham. He's had 8 races at Cheltenham. He's finished first or placed in 6 of the 8, and out of the other 2, okay, one of them he run like a pig last year in the Per Thames final, and the other time out he fell when going really well. He's got better over fences, and his jumping has got better as he goes on. He likes the course. The ground is fine. He stays, and it's neck and neck with Smad Place. So 12 to 1 Sam Winner is a massive price. I think that is a huge each way price, and I can't see Sam Winner, if he goes for this race, not being out the frame. If you're looking for bigger value around there, Many Clouds is interesting. He jumps very, very well. The ground will be okay, and he stays really well. Another horse to mention here, O'Ferland's Boy, 16 to 1, beat him at Ascot, but Many Clouds jumped great. He got outpaced and then stayed on again. So, I think this slight increase in trip for the RSA is good. The one worry it has is he's had one run at the course, and it was terrible. And even there was a comment, I think it was in the Sporting Life, I looked back on it from a couple of years ago, and he said the trainer said the horse didn't enjoy the course. Now, yeah, he might have grown up. The worry is, though, if he didn't enjoy the course, then what happens if he still doesn't now? He's 16 to 1 and worth a mention, but there's risks attached to him. Don Cossack has been really well fancied all winter again, but last time out when he was beaten, my thought was he didn't stay the enhanced trip that he was going on, and I think this step up again for the RSA isn't a natural step for him. So I'm happy to take him on the value that I don't know if he'll stay the trip. But I'm going to pick a 1, 2, 3 here, and my 1, 2, 3 is Smad Place at 7 to 1 from Sam Winner about 12 to 1. It is really close between those two, and Carlingford Lock at 8 to 1. The first handicap of day 2, I should say, handicap and also a bit of a lottery, is the Coral Cup. I'm only going to spend a bit of time on this because there's still like 50 horses left in it. I'm going to start with the one who's highest up in the betting that I've seen, and that's Temps Pour Two. Sorry about my French, no good, but there you go. It's David Pipetrain. All of his form, though, has been on soft and heavy ground in small 4 and 5 horse races. This is going to be an absolute run at a belting pace with probably about 30 horses plus in this. And I don't know if that's really got to suit him. There was a horse who was running in this last year who had the same type profile. I forgot the name now, and they just said, oh, the whole occasion was too much for him. So he could run a good race. He could be anything, but my thoughts is that maybe not his day today. Same for another pipe horse, Vieux Leon Rouge, 14 to 1. He's done nothing wrong, but everything he's done this year has been in class 4s. This is a huge step up in trip. He could be thrown in, but it's a step up, a huge step up in class. And I don't know. It's finger in the air job. If you want to take 14 to 1, there's worse horses you could take, but we don't know if he's going to be that. If he's going to be that price. Dungwib is interesting. Really good winner of the bumper many years ago, and was odds on to win the Supreme Novice next time out. It all went wrong for him in that race. I don't think he got the best ride by his amateur Derek O'Connor, I think it was. I don't think he got the best ride at all. And then since then, his injury problem has been, it's been stuff of legend. Everyone knows about how awkward he is to train and how hard he is to keep fit. But he is coming into form. He did win last time. He's got a decent weight. He's proven he likes the course. 14 to 1 Dungwib. It's a sentimental bet, but it also could have a lot of impact behind it, I think, Dungwib. Flax and Flair's another one. Won the, I think it was the Fred Winter last year. Got the course form. Seemed in his last couple of runs to need to step up and trip. He ran in the Greatwood and stayed on, and looked like he was going to get outpaced and stayed on. I think the step up and trip will suit him, and he does seem to be more of a spring horse as well. So Flax and Flair could run another good race. Same with Vendor. Stayed on really well in the Betfair from an travelled well and then just got outpaced and stayed on. I think the step up and trip will suit him. He's got good course form. You might remember he was an almighty gamble the other year. It was just failed. And you know, he's another one, and he seemed to like these big fields. I think the step up and trips needed at his age now. I think that is something that he does need, and 16 to 1's a good price. Meister or Mr. Eckhart came second to stablemate Medina's in this last year, so he's got the course and distance form. He had a decent prep run in the National Spirits hurdle at Fontwell. Run okay, but not as bad as last year. He's got the course form, so once again, you've got to put him there. So I'm going to go for me 1, 2, 3 here, and I'm going to go with Vendor. I think I still think Vendor's got everything to offer from Meister Eckhart. I think he'll run pretty much into second again, and Flax and Flair, but stepping up and trip is very interesting. The big race of day 2 is the Queen Mother, and without sounding too negative, I honestly think this could be the worst Queen Mother on record, if I'm going to be honest. Think of some of the horses in the last 10 or 12 years that have won this. You've got your likes of your flagship Uber Alice's, Viking Flagship, Moscow Flyer, Azertia, Well Chief. They literally trip off the tongue, the horses that have won this. Sprinter Sacra, Masterminded. Is there anything of that standard in here? None of them are anywhere near it. We're going to start on the sentimental one, Size in Europe, who's won the Arkle. He won the Champion Chase. I think he would have won it the other year if he didn't miss out the last fence. But he's a back number now. You saw it last time. He was going backwards from a long way out. He's going to get pressed for the lead, my feeling, this year with the like of RV Legionnaire in there. But, you know, when you say it's, you know, substandard, he would not be one of the substandard ones. I think he is now. But as I said, if this same field lined up against him 2 years ago, he would have Sprinter Sacred and possibly, because I really don't think they're a good group here. But what that does mean is that there is potentially some value there. But we'll start at the head of the market with Sieur de Grugy. 9 to 4. I can't have 9 to 4 on Sieur de Grugy. I'm sorry for those who are fans of him. He got beaten by Kid Cassidy over course and distance. Okay, Kid Cassidy gave him £10. He was travelling all over him from 2 out, and McCoy won it by 3.5. He could have won it by 10, I think. And Kid Cassidy, he's a quirky little horse. Good, but very quirky horse. So even with the £10, I don't think he would have beaten him. Yet, Sieur de Grugy's gone from strength to strength since then. He won the Tingle Creek, which is obviously a renowned trial for this, and you know, if people who win the Queen Mother usually end up head of the market. He then was in the race at Kempton with Sprinter Sacra, where Sprinter Sacra pulled up, obviously with his heart problem, which has kept him out of this. But I think the proximity of Loiseau Genouille to him in second suggests that, you know, it possibly wasn't the greatest race on paper either. He's not gone well at the course before, and that is the worry. He's a good horse. I think he's very good. He's not top class though for me. And at 9 to 4, I can't have that at 9 to 4. He might win. Do you know what I mean? Because as I said, it's a poor race this year. He might win, but I'd rather have a lot more at 9 to 4. Captain Conan's second favourite at 4 to 1. He actually beat the favourite Sieur de Grugy easily as a novice over course and distance. But he's one quirky horse. This Captain Conan. I remember once at Sandown before the festival last year, he got up and beat, I think it was Third Intention by a neck, and he just didn't look willing at all. He then run a decent race in the 2.5 mile at Cheltenham, and then went to Aintree, where I actually backed him at Aintree, and I was there the day that he won. But once again, he got to the front and hit, like stopped to virtually a walk, and Tat Knight was chasing him down, and there's a lot of risks attached to Captain Conan at 4 to 1. He's classy and he stays, but 4 to 1's risky. Arvika Legionnaire is an in and out performer. He did what he needed to do last time. The thing I think we're going to get with this horse, though, he won't be able to dominate with the likes of possibly Hinterland, who could be going for this. We don't know yet. Size in Europe likely to push off on the front end. Beneficent likes to be up there. Bailey Green certainly likes to be up there. And my sneaky suspicion for Arvika Legionnaire is as well is that he needs worse ground than this. He's a half decent horse, but once again 6-1 I can't have. Beneficent won at the festival last year over 2.5 miles, so he's got course form. He'll clearly stay. He came back to form last time. I think he's going to run a big race. Beneficent. He's definitely a spring horse, and the fact that he's won over further suggests that the step back in 2 mile, yeah, he might get outpaced, but he'll be staying up the hill, which is half the battle. Bailey Green run a stormer when he was second in the Arkle last year. He went off like an absolute missile at times, very free, and yet he stayed very well. The problem is he's done nothing since then. His form has been abysmal. So you're relying on a huge turnaround coming back to Cheltenham, which can happen, but 8-1, you can't have that one. Kid Cassidy, 10-1. As I said, he beat Sierra de Grugy, giving him £10. The better ground suits him. He likes the course. He stays the trip. He's only really run one bad race at Cheltenham. He always seems to run well. My suspicion is, though, is he a handicapper? Is he a glorified handicapper? He was really put in his place at Ireland last time, but he has shown an affinity for the course. I think he's, as I said, I think it's substandard, and I think he's going to run a big race, Kid Cassidy. I don't think he's going to win, but there's worse bets he can have. McCoy seems to get on well with him. He'll be switched off out the back end, so don't be surprised if top of the hill you think, where is he, if he's still there? But he should come home well. He inevitably does. Now, the horse I'm actually backing in this one, and the horse I think is going to win, is a huge price, and that horse is Module. He's currently 20-1, and I think that's overpriced. He's got very good course form, and he always runs a decent race, and he's run and won at the course. He's run well behind decent form. He stays. He's won over 2.5 miles. Last year, I think it was in the Arkle, he came on and he was going on at the finish, or it could have even been the Dewsons actually. And he was just staying on all the time. He's got better this year. He doesn't pull as hard as he does. I've watched all of his races this season. The ground should be okay. Okay, he probably would have got beat by Dodging Bullets last time, if I'm going to be honest. I think it was Dodging Bullets, but the ride Daryl Jacob gave him. But saying that, though, he was tough as old boots, and he carried on going, and he made Dodging Bullets come off the bridle, and he made him effectively lose the race. So you can't take that away from him. I think it's 16-1. He's just generally a solid jumper as well. You're going to get a cracking run. It's actually 16-1 now. I said 20-1. I've just looked at the market now as I'm on to you, and it's 16s across the board, so maybe some others are nibbling at it. Out of the others, Summersby makes hundreds of mistakes, and you can't do that around Cheltenham. He should finish well if he stands up. He didn't last time. And Hinterland has once again been very novice-y. It's a substandard renewal, but my 1, 2, 3 is Module. I think will come in first place, and I take him to finish ahead of Beneficent and Kid Cassidy as my 1, 2, 3. I think it could be a real turn-up race. Next up is the cross-country race, which the best thing to do on this, I always find, is stick to horses for courses, who would go well on it. And Big Shoe won this last year, and won it well, to be fair. He wasn't overly fancied. Now, he was beaten by Love Rory last time out in Ireland, decisively. Now, the interesting one is Big Shoe is currently 7-2, while Love Rory is 7-1. And the only reason I think that is Love Rory's never gone on the course. If you've got to back against the two, you can't do Big Shoe without putting Love Rory very close to this horse. Now, my feeling is, and I might be wrong, last year it was a bit of a turn-up, Big Shoe winning this. Okay, he's proved it that he likes his cross-country and won next time out. I think this year, I don't think he's going to do it again. I don't know why, I've just got that feeling. I actually think Love Rory, the way he finished off his races, I think the nature of, because the cross-country courses are very similar at Punchestown and Cheltenham, though I think there's more, there's the type of obstacles and that you get in the Aintree one, I think will suit Love Rory more, given the way that he finished out. And I think the more fixed hurdles that they kind of jump over the last one on the main course, I think that will allow him to get that head of steam up. So I think Love Rory could go very close. Sayer Collonge won one of the trial races in this earlier in the season, inevitably runs well over this course, clearly stays well, and he'll be banging the mix. The two I'm going to focus on is Balthazar King, who's won this race before and always runs well at Cheltenham, whether it's cross-country course or not. He's been put out for this race. He's a course and distance winner, and he's going to take a lot of stopping. The horse I've just got a feeling for, and I tipped him up last year, and I got a lot of stick for tipping him up because he didn't run a great race. I thought he would take to the course last year was Any Currency. He looked like a duck out of water in this race last year. But this year, he's come back in and run a very good race. He then got placed over the course and distance, again staying on like a train, over, as I said, at a huge price. And then the next time out, he just failed to run down Sayer Collonge. And if you watch that race again, I suggest you could go on YouTube. You can watch this race. I think it was in November. Everything went against him. He got struck into twice on the bend, and you could see the jockey looking down first at the horse, and one time the jockey lost his iron. A horse fell in front of him at the entry fence. He got bulked again as part of the risk, and then he stayed on with a clearer round. I think any currency again is the better. Currently around 11-1. He ran a great race in the Warwick Chase again in January, just finishing out the places. But they've kept him fresher for this year. They've given him a couple of months, and I think that's going to make a big difference. He likes the course, and I'd rather be having him at 11-1 than anything else on the each way. So if I'm going to go from a 1, 2, 3 here, I'm going for any currency to beat Balthazar King and Love Rory. The Fred Winter, another crazy race of handicap plots and all the other dodgy stuff, shall we say, that goes with it. The favourite 5-1 is Dowerland for Nicky Henderson. His form's okay, it's not great, but what it is, they're relying on a Nicky Henderson plot here of that this horse is going to improve, and he's got a decent weight to do so. He has been on the go for a while in France and then came over, but as I said, the form is not spectacular, but for that reason, he's got in off an absolute dream mark. So that's why I think the bookies are pricing up at 5-1. Not saying he's going to win, but that's quite short for a competitive handicap there. Ivan Grozny is 10-1 for Willie Mullins. I'm not actually sure why. He won earlier in the season. He's then been stuffed out of sight the last couple. And I think, once again, the bookies are hedging the bets because this could be another Mullins plot horse who's going to improve for the spring. Been fresh, well, not fresh enough. He run a trials day at Leopardstown, really. But I can't be having 10-1 on him. Same with Goodwood Mirage. Awful form all season, including over course and distance when he came last. But once again, it's the yard, it's the O'Neill yard, and the whole thing is this going to be another handicap plot? That's what people are looking at here, I think. The horse that is of most interest here is called Cat Gary for Paul Nicholls. He's never raced in England before, but Paul Nicholls can ready them first time out from France. He's proven it time and time again with some of the better horses he masterminded, Corto Stars. I know he's even done it with the likes of the ill-fated Sanctuary did, which came over and did brilliant. For that reason, he's in on a great mark on what he's achieved in France. So he could be anything, so we can't say yes or no because he could literally be anything. The horse I'm actually doing in this one, and because you do get value here, is a Willie Mullins horse, but not the one you think, and his name is Adriana Des Mottes. His form last time out, he was beaten odds on behind a horse called Abyssal for Willie Mullins. Abyssal has stood out more than any horse for me this season. He hasn't got the credit he deserved. He's won every single time, and not just what he's been winning, flashing his tail. We'll come on to him in the next 2 days because he will be entered, and I think he's got a great chance at Cheltenham. But Adriana Des Mottes was running him down, and he got beat by Abyssal half a length last time out, running him down at the line. The time before that, he was a very, very easy winner. Very easy winner. The going is a bit of a question mark, but I think that this horse is improving, and I think the big hill at the end will suit him. And another horse who's actually ahead of him in the betting is called Blue Hell, but Adriana Des Mottes beat it by over 15 lengths the time before last. So I'm not sure why Blue Hell's 16 and he's 25-1. So my bet, if I've got to do one here, is Adriana Des Mottes. I'm going to go for a bit of value. But my 1, 2, 3 is Adriana Des Mottes from, I think Dowerland is going to continue to improve. And I think Cat Gary, I think Paul Nicholls might be able to work a little bit of magic with him and get him into the frame. So yeah, there's the 3 for there. Final is the champion bumper, which is the Willie Mullins bumper effectively, because he holds all the aces in this pack. Won it time after time. Won it again last year with the less fancied horse Briar Hill, which wasn't even remotely fancied and came in, even though Ruby Walsh did pick it. So keep an eye out for who Ruby goes for, because even if it's not the one you fancy, could be the one that goes in. Now, the 2 co-favourites head in the market at the moment are both Mullins trained. First of all is Shane's Hill. He's 2 for 2. He run twice very quickly earlier this season in November within about 3 weeks, and he's not been seen since, both on heavy. The form's worked out okay, not great, and he's been put away for this, but 5 months is a long time to go without a run going into a champion bumper. It can be done, but 6-1's plenty short enough. The other co-favourite is Black Hercules for Willie Mullins. He's been good without being spectacular, but the problem is, and I've read a thing, Mullins says we haven't got to the bottom of this horse yet. We haven't fully had him geared up, and we haven't fully let him go. What happens if you let him go and he's brilliant? We just don't know. 6-1, don't get me wrong, it's a shortish price, but you know, I think the vibes, the market will speak for this soon. The Irish people who are in the know will start to wade in. But if I had to pick a Mullins horse, the one who's impressed me the most is actually Killal Tulla Vic, 10-1. He's improving every run. Literally, if you look at his form, he's got better every time. Not only has he got better, he's travelled better every time. And the big piece of form here is he beat Gollantilla by 16 lengths last time out. Gollantilla actually got placed in last year's champion bumper, and we'll get onto him in a second. But for me, if Gollantilla is the horse, that's been placed in the past before and was really fancied, that's a really, really good piece of form. That, and I think Killul he's getting better with every run. He's my idea of a bet at 10-1. Gollantilla, I'm going to mention, he was placed in the bumper last year, and interestingly enough, he's going for it again this year. Please write if you can, comment if anyone can remember the last horse to go for the champion bumper 2 years in a run. There's no one really sticking out to me that does this, so that suggests to me they really fancy the horse for this. It was his first run, Gollantilla, since the end of last season after the bumper in Punchestown last time, and he got very tired. I think he'll come on for the run, and I think he's a really good, he's got a really good chance of going in again. You're not going to mess around in a champion bumper again when you can go for hurdles who, he looks like he's got a good hurdler in the making. You're not going to do that unless you really fancy him for something like the champion bumper. Horse I want to mention, because I won a load on him a few weeks ago, is called Zero Shades of Grey. It's British trained. It's 50-1. He's another one. He won very, very well at Doncaster last time out. He travelled well. He got the lead, and then he fought on well, and he did it the time before that. What the form's worth, I don't know. I really don't know. But the one thing with this horse is he always travels. I've watched even when he got beat first time out, he travels fantastic. So what my take on there is 50 Shades of Grey, currently on Betfair at 69 on Betfair for the win. This horse, if you backed him at 69, I think he'll be travelling well enough throughout the whole race to be able to lay that off for a free bet quite away from home, because he does travel well. But is he going to win? I don't think he is. My 1, 2, 3, Killul from Gollantilla and Black Hercules. That concludes day 2. I'm now going to have a look at day 3. So hope I hope this is some use to you. Let us know what your thoughts are on these races. I have some really good comments with regards to what people fancy. Thanks to DJ who commented obviously on the first video on what his thoughts on Hurricane Fly and my 10 or yours. I think Hurricane probably will hold Arcona really, but no. Thanks for the comments. Let us know what you're backing, and be back with day 3 soon. Cheers.